Hello and good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar session brought to you by the University of Washington, USA and Shiksha.com. Student, this is an informative session on MS Technology Innovation Program that is being provided by the University of Washington to all international students. And before I move further, I would like to introduce our presenter from the university. So we have with us Mr. Kyle Brown. He is the recruitment specialist at the Global Innovation Exchange Department at the university. I welcome Kyle for joining us today and doing this presentation for all the students here who have joined in. And student, an important note for all of you: if you have questions that you want to ask our presenter, I will request you to please post your questions in the question section. If you want to ask questions directly to Kyle, I will request you to please click on the raise hand tab. Shiksha will unmute you and you can ask your questions directly to Kyle. I will now request Kyle to please start with the session. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction. Okay, and thank you for coming to our session today. So yes, as mentioned, I am Kyle and I'm with the University of Washington in the Master of Science in Technology Innovation program here. So let's just get started with a brief overview of sort of why the program was created in the first place. So I'm sure that we know that the world is changing very rapidly and that more smart devices are appearing in a lot of different environments around us. So we see devices at home, we may start seeing more devices at work in different types of environments, whether it's in a meeting room or just even in your office. And then, of course, there's a rise in wearable devices. So there's a lot more smart devices that basically appear everywhere that we go. And then there's another aspect of this that's increasing as well, in that some of these devices are going to be mobile themselves. So a rise in what we would call like consumer robotics or service robotics is something that's drastically increasing. And here we can see two examples of Amazon created robots that have different functions and that may soon be appearing near your house or inside your house even potentially. So robotics applications is another huge area that is growing within sort of a subset of this smart devices and IoT devices, whether it's in a hospital or a restaurant or a warehouse. These are also rapidly increasing applications for robotics. So it's something that traditionally we think of maybe robotics in more of a factory setting. It's just doing a single task over and over again, sort of replacing a human in that role. What we're looking at is robotics that have interact with people and interact with different products around your house in a less defined manner. And basically what's going to happen is that there are a lot of people that are going to be needed to program and be able to write new applications for these sort of consumer grade robotics that are appearing. So career-wise, what does this mean for you? So what does this career industry growth look like? So the market to develop smart devices and IoT devices, that's Internet of Things devices, is growing really rapidly. So a lot of market research is expecting the market for these devices to grow dramatically over the next few years. We can see here just a few examples from some different companies of how rapidly they expect this industry to grow. And of course, that means that the careers are going to start growing with it. Some other areas to consider within this is, we have UX and UI design, another rapidly growing and very popular field that's within the tech industry, also having some rapid growth in different areas. And then, software, of course, traditionally is what we think of as the technology field, the software engineering field and software development field. Obviously by the numbers, that field is much bigger in terms of just the revenue that it generates, but it also means that it grows a lot slower as well. So that's something to consider, is that there's definitely a lot more competition within the software engineering space right now. Whereas a lot of these other careers and industries which are growing rapidly, there's a lot less competition for you right now. And so that's where I wanted to come in and talk about why the Master of Science Technology Innovation exists. And so how it can help you sort of create a career within these emerging technology fields that are outside of just your standard software development. So we mentioned a little bit earlier the Global Innovation Exchange, and I just wanted to mention what that is. So essentially, the Global Innovation Exchange is an institute within the University of Washington. Our institute has essentially three founding partners. It was the University of Washington, Microsoft, and Tsinghua University in China. And the goal was to create, innovators and people with the new career skills that are going to be needed to help meet the demand in these rapidly growing fields. So helping to meet the demand for people who can work on smart device development and IoT development, robotics development, UX, UI designers. So that's really what we focus on because Microsoft very early on identified that there would probably be a skill gap in this area as these industries grow, and the universities and Microsoft got together and created a program to address that, and that is what the Master of Science Technology Innovation is about. So again, if we go back to what are we looking at, right? So smart and IoT device development. So how important, in this field, which has a lot of different people from different backgrounds working in it, some questions that people often ask, if you're coming in with a strong technology background, is that really crucial? What are some of the different jobs that we would see in these fields? And then especially, how important is it to have, experience with teamwork versus what your individual accomplishments might have been in the past, whether it's in school or other types of volunteer projects or even work projects. So what I wanted to do that, to frame that, is look at some of our alumni and look at what they're doing now, and just take a look at what kind of skills that they have and what kind of skills they're using in their work right now. So one of our alumni that we can talk about today is Will Buchanan, and he works at Microsoft as a program manager. He graduated from the Technology Innovation Program in 2019. He specializes in machine learning and green computing. He's one of the team leaders of the Green AI team within Microsoft Azure, which is their cloud computing service. His background was not within software or computer science, but more he was a mechanical engineer with some experience coming in energy and solar development. So he had a little bit of background within sort of the energy space when he came in. And then through the program, he was able to gain a very strong, software side and hardware side of his skills with things like machine learning and Python. He was definitely able to learn a lot of design and user research. He was even able to learn a lot of prototyping skills within the program. So things like computer-aided design, computer and CNC design, and then of course entrepreneurship and finance. And he uses all of those in his role as a program manager at Microsoft within Microsoft Azure. So he was able to take his background of mechanical engineering, which of course is a STEM field, but not necessarily computer science, and then acquire a lot of the more computer science skills and technical skills within our program to sort of bridge this skill gap of having these both hardware and software skills. So another alumni that we have here is Max. He currently works at Amazon as a UX design technologist. And so he specializes in the testing and development of smart devices. So Amazon, of course, has a number of smart devices. And his degree was in computer science, but he mostly had experience with web development before coming into the program. So nothing really hardware based when he came into the program. And so he was able to leverage a lot of those skills like web development and software engineering, but also gain a strong emphasis in the hardware side by learning to use different prototyping tools and user-centered design, and then machine learning and sensors. And he's able to apply those now in his role at Amazon in the creation of smart devices. So we're talking about things like Alexa and the different other smart devices that Amazon develops currently. So I think you can see that a lot of these roles definitely have more a blend of software and hardware side, and I think that's sort of a more unique skill set that's required within the smart device and IoT device industry as it grows, especially as a career. You'll also see that both Max and Will have a lot of other diverse skills that they're able to bring to their team by having a stronger understanding of design and a stronger understanding of the business processes that go into a product. And so that's what really makes them, our students especially, valuable as team leaders and developers within this space. So it's definitely a unique blend of skills that's very helpful for them to understand the different viewpoints from their team, which may include things like user experience designers. A lot of these teams will include something like cognitive psychologists to help understand the human-computer interaction. Of course, the business side is important. Where is the program being funded from? And so these are also skills that are very valuable within these fields here. What other kinds of skills should you consider now in a career if you're looking at something that's in a growth stage? I mentioned a little bit earlier the change in how robotics careers are growing. So we're not necessarily looking at a huge growth of what we would call like mechatronics engineers, people who are going to like build robots, specific robots for specific tasks. But now the growth is definitely within the employment of the robot. So taking the robots that exist already within a warehouse setting or a restaurant setting or a hospital setting and learning how to enable those robots to perform new tasks. So learning things like the robot operating system or ROS, how to use computer vision and machine learning to make sure that the robots are able to navigate around a space that's changing constantly. So these are some things that are really useful to look for in a program now, because these are where definitely the growth skills that are going to be needed within the field of robotics. Robotics programs for additional uses for robots are going to be a really great growth area. And then, of course, look at the different research centers at the universities for more, details. So within the University of Washington alone, we have a number of different research centers for robotics. And so our program is involved with some of those, and some of them is more of the computer science side, or some of them might be more the mechanical engineering side. So, definitely the takeaway is, look at what the university is doing with robotics and sort of have that help you make your choice as well. And I'm stuck on this slide for some reason. Okay. So shifting gears a little bit, what I would like to do is talk a little bit about the Master of Science Technology Innovation Program through the lens of what our student projects are. And so I think looking at the projects really helps get a good idea of the skills that our students are learning and the skills that are making them such valuable candidates when they're going out to look for jobs. So to start with, our program is extremely project-based. Our students work on projects in a number of different stages. So we have our lab classes have their own projects, which run in basically a 10-week compressed intensive cycle where our students develop some hardware and go through different prototyping iterations to meet a need. And then we also have what we call our launch projects. And our launch projects are basically the final project that our students do. So our program in particular does not have a thesis. It actually has a capstone project, which is this launch project. And all of our launch projects are sponsored by industry or sometimes subject matter experts within universities, and to address a very specific, usually a business need in the case of an industry partner. And so you can see here some of the examples of our sponsors from year to year on our launch projects. So of course, Microsoft, being one of our founding partners, always sponsors several projects. We also work extensively with T-Mobile, which is one of the largest mobile phone providers in the United States. They're especially well known for their extensive use of 5G technology in not just phones, but other devices as well. We work with some companies that are more international, like Nintendo or Baidu for different gaming and other cloud computing projects. We've worked with the University of Washington School of Medicine pretty frequently because we are seeing a lot of interest in medical smart devices to help with different medical needs, whether that be care in the home or different hospital settings. And then we've even worked with some government agencies like Singapore, which has sort of an innovation promotion agency, if you will, called GovTech, which is dedicated to helping promote innovative technology development within Singapore. So so all of these companies have come to us at different points in the past to help sponsor projects, and usually projects that are real problems that they are facing. So our students get a lot of insight into how the business processes and project processes at these different companies work, and they're able to gain a lot of experience by working directly with subject matter experts at these different companies during their project. So I'd like to move into talking about a few of our student projects here. This project to start with was sponsored by T-Mobile, and T-Mobile's problem that they came to us with was they had recently bought the name rights to our baseball stadium in Seattle, so it became T-Mobile Park. And what they wanted to do was try to explore how can visitors or spectators at the park have a better experience navigating this structure. Of course, stadiums are large places with a lot of people there and a lot of spectators, and people don't go, often enough sometimes to really understand the layout and where everything is, and it can be very confusing if it's very crowded. And so what our students set out to do was, how can we create a navigation app that will work within T-Mobile Park that can help people find things that they need to use when they're at the stadium. So whether they're looking for a restroom, or if they have a specific dietary requirement for food, like they're looking for vegetarian food or something of that nature, and how can they find that the easiest? And so what our students came up with was an augmented reality app that sort of functions a little bit like like a Google Maps kind of function, but on a very smaller localized scale to help people find specific things at T-Mobile Park and direct them with very precise directions as to how far they need to go and where they need to go and when they need to turn. And they can do that with the camera overlay that we can see on the picture here. So students were able to gain a lot of great experience with not only augmented reality, but a lot of user research and user experience design went into this project. This project was also able to leverage 5G technology a little bit before it was sort of mainstream deployed within the US. So this project's from about 2 years ago. So this is really kind of when 5G technology was coming in very early to the United States. And so our students were able to gain a lot of experience through those areas as well. And so yes, this app is available, not only at T-Mobile Park now, but also used within T-Mobile's headquarters, which is also a very large campus of buildings that their employees can help navigate. It can help their employees navigate that more effectively. Okay, and then this project is from one of our labs. And so this project was basically, like I mentioned earlier, a 10-week project. And this is a robotics project. And so the problem here that the students faced was how to assist like an infirm or less physically able population with just taking their garbage out and their rubbish out for collection. So trash cans, if they're full, can become very heavy, and if someone is not able to lift or walk that far, it can become very challenging for them to have their garbage or rubbish collected. And so what our students set out to do is basically automate this process by building a robot that could do it for the person. And so you can see that there's a few different off-the-shelf components that the students used, and they're able to tie together with some custom hardware and custom software using like a machine learning camera with an existing robot base. So we have the iRobot base, which is essentially, one of the like robot vacuum cleaners, but with the vacuum cleaner part removed. So it's just sort of a chassis that can drive around. and then using some custom hardware and software to enable that robot to not only move from one point to another, but also navigate a changing environment. If, for example, if this is designed for use at home, our homes change constantly. We put things down, we move chairs, we put boxes different places. There may be people, there may be animals. So this project is this robot is designed to avoid all of these obstacles and find a path to where it needs to go in an environment that's going to change constantly. And this is one of the key aspects of what makes robotics in the consumer and outside of the factory space very challenging, is that robots need to be able to adapt to environments that change constantly. And so that is something that our students work on very carefully. Okay, and then I'll go through a couple more projects here, and then we'll maybe look at a couple questions here to see. This project is called Fireworks, and this is in cooperation with Vulcan and Washington State Department of Natural Resources. And this project was based around monitoring the health of firefighters, in particular wildland firefighters who fight forest fires and wildland fires. And so the challenge here was that, of course, these types of jobs are extremely dangerous. We have firefighters who are fighting a forest fire who are far away from their normal means of support. You may have a team of firefighters spread across several kilometers, sometimes not able to see each other when they're working. And so the challenge is, like, how do you monitor the health of these firefighters when they are spread across such a large area? Not only is the normal risk of injury from falling and other things, but also exhaustion and heat exhaustion and dehydration are very serious risks for these firefighters because they're working long shifts to fight forest fires. So what our students were able to come up with was basically integrating a suite of sensors into the firefighter's helmet, which you can see a picture of there. That can monitor things like body temperature, how much the user's sweating, how much, what their heart rate is. And so all doing this through the helmet, and integrating within the helmet, of course, was also obviously a challenge because it's a lot of sensors. You need batteries, you need to have some way to transmit this data wirelessly now, and all combine into a helmet without, of course, damaging the helmet, because then it doesn't function its original job anymore. And so our students were very successful at this idea, at this project. We actually did this for 2 years in a row. So our students did additional development on it the next year. And it's still a device that's undergoing some active development and trying to push towards an actual deployment to help monitor and protect the lives of firefighters, potentially around the world. So it's a really cool project. And then one last project to talk about here. This project is called Memory Lane, and this was sponsored by the University of Washington Medical School, so the University of Washington School of Medicine. And the project here was designed as a device to help patients that are experiencing memory loss conditions and with some memory loss therapy, and helping basically creating a physical device to assist with this type of therapy. So you can see here in the picture here that we've got what essentially is more of almost an off-the-shelf device. There's an iPad, and then what our students have done have made an enclosure and some additional add-on items to this iPad, along with a customized app, in order to utilize it in a different way. So one of the challenges of populations that are experiencing memory loss especially is, through user research, our students found that essentially touchscreen navigation is not something that works very well for this population for a variety of reasons. And so what our students essentially set out to do was create a very physical and intuitive interface for this app that would essentially play videos or photos or play music that this patient is familiar with to help them use their memory and reduce their memory loss. So this is sort of a research area that's undergoing at University of Washington School of Medicine. And so essentially what we've done is make a physical device out of this that doesn't rely on the touchscreen interface anymore. So there's an iPad with a custom-built app. We have a machine learning computer vision device that's attached to the top of the iPad camera. Instead of a touch interface, we have created these very large physical interface buttons that are just very simple interaction buttons like play, repeat, next, I liked that or I didn't like that. To actually access different applications like video or music, we have these physical objects that the user will just place on the middle of this white area. So for example, the movie camera would indicate the user could put that on there if they wanted to watch videos, or if they want to watch music, they'll put the cassette tape on there to help play that. And so essentially the other really big bonus of this project was that they're trying to create something that the user can use this device without any help from a caregiver, which really helps their motivation and of course helps their confidence and also is better for their memory as well. And so this is a project that obviously that's really great to look at the different prototyping stages that it went to and the different materials and designs that it went through, and you can see some of those here. And a lot of it was based on extensive user research as well. So this is a really great project. I think it's very interesting. I also like to note that this project was done in the peak of the pandemic when essentially we were in a type of lockdown, especially at these facilities. And so our team had to work remotely to deliver these devices to care facilities and train their users remotely. And it was a very successful project and has been continuing on supporting some of the research that's being done there. So, all right. Yeah, so I'm gonna just actually go through a few more slides because we're almost finished here, and then we'll just stop for questions and we can go back if we need to. So yes, all of our program is supported by a brand new state-of-the-art, well, not brand new, it's 2017, it was built in, but very new state-of-the-art prototyping labs facility. We are located a little bit off the main campus, just across the main campus from across the water here in the Spring District. So we're close to a lot of tech companies in Bellevue, Washington. And we have a lot of labs that are able to facilitate all of these projects that you've seen. So we have exclusive labs just for our program with lab staff to assist the students to learn and utilize all the equipment, which the students will also learn through their classes. Because we have a full range of prototype construction equipment with something, 3D printers, of course, laser cutters, CNC mills. We have a full PCB workshop where students can print their own circuit boards. And we even have a wood shop that helps students understand, more basic, design and prototyping skills at that level. So we have a lot of equipment that the students use, pretty much anything that students need to create a project that's involving the different types of hardware and software integration. We have a full robotics lab as well, using some of these robots like you see here. The students can customize and program for different uses. We have an augmented an augmented and virtual reality lab as well for AR and VR projects. Oops, uh-oh, I've gone too far. Oh no. Which is also really a growing field for our students. In fact, actually, a few weeks ago, Microsoft came out to give all of our students a sort of very basic lesson in sort of how to program for the HoloLens 2, which is their most advanced augmented reality goggles that they're using right now. And so all of our students were able to get just a quick baseline in how to use these in program for these in different settings. So. Okay, and then a little bit about the program here. So it is an intensive program here. These are the three areas that we combine in our program. So we have technology development, entrepreneurship, and design thinking. We are an in-person program. It's a STEM program, and definitely the mix of classes and lab projects is a hallmark of our program. One, I think, key difference between our program and other programs is that all of our classes are sort of integrated together. And so your design classes will, help you directly in things you're working on currently in your technology classes. The entrepreneurship classes are set up to support the other classes as well. So, when you're doing, students have a budget essentially for each of the projects that they create. And so it's their job to help maintain and stay on that budget. And report where the funding is being used. And so that's some of the things that come up within the entrepreneurship section. So it's all integrated together. And I think that's what makes our program quite unique in this manner. Some admissions requirements for the program. So a bachelor's degree is required, so a 4-year bachelor's degree, but any field that's a 4-year bachelor's degree is accepted. A 3.0 GPA higher or on a 4.0 scale. And other than that, it's a fairly typical graduate school application. So there's just transcripts, your personal statement, a resume, at least 2 letters of recommendation. A digital portfolio is highly recommended. Of course, proof of English proficiency, so that could be TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo currently. And we don't require GRE for the program. So that's a great bonus there. Prerequisites for the program are fairly simple, and they're not actually hard prerequisites as well. So if you are coming from a slightly different field where you don't have a lot of software background, that's actually okay. We are looking for some people with a base level of software before you start the program. And so if you're not able to meet the prerequisites before you start, we do have a fundamental programming course that's included within the program that you would take before you begin the main part of the MSTI program. So that's our technology fundamentals bootcamp that we offer. So yes, even if you don't have a ton of programming experience, if you're coming from another field like engineering or something, you could still apply because we were able to help offer some of the programming skills within the program itself. So we do have some scholarships, which could be from 5 to 20% of your tuition. So we have the MSTI scholarships. There's a dual degree program we have at Tsinghua University. And the good news is that all your applications are automatically considered based on the strength of your materials. So you don't have to do any separate application process. We also have some other funding services that can help you find some additional funding, but a lot of our students, probably around 60% of our students, receive some type of scholarship. So, the admissions timeline for this program, just in general. So we can see for this year, the application started around October. We had a priority deadline in January. We're still open for applications to the end of April, and we are currently issuing admissions decisions for the applications that were submitted in January. And so this is pretty typical of our cycle. So going into next year, I would expect this cycle to be pretty much exactly the same. So for starting in fall 2023, you would expect to apply sometime between October and preferably January 2022 and 2023. So. Okay, so that I just wanted to get through it really quickly. It was kind of fast and crazy, I know. So I appreciate sticking with me there. And so I would like to, stop here and ask for questions. And if we need to go back and look at something in more detail, we can do that. But yeah, thank you for listening to that quick and crazy spiel.
Thank you so much, Kyle, for the wonderful presentation. And we will start taking questions. I'll just share again, students, if you want to ask questions directly, please click on the raise hand tab. Shiksha will unmute you and you can ask your questions. If you have questions that you want to ask through chat, please post your questions in the question section. We are now open for question answer round. So the first question that I have, Kyle, for you is regarding, so this question has been asked by a student that what kind of career students can get into after they complete this this program from the university.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hold on. I actually have an extra slide for that. Maybe I can pull that up real quick. I actually thought that I put it in here, but one moment. So yeah, our students go into, you can see that within the program, we have a wide range of skills that we focus on. And so our students end up in sort of a wide range of careers as well. Let me switch over to this here. Okay. Where? Hold on a second. Okay. Why am I not seeing? Okay. All right. So are we seeing the career slide right now? Can you see this? Can you, anyway?
Yes. Yes, yes,
Okay.
in Fields,
All right.
right.
So yes. So yeah, we're pretty successful in our placement right now. We have about 95% of our students placed within 6 months of graduation. And so you can see there's kind of a wide variety of careers that our students work in. So we saw two of them earlier with Will and Max here, who are working as basically program managers within their different jobs. But we do have some software engineers that come out of the program. Typically, they're working on the software for a hardware product. Could be up to product designers. A lot of program managers and project managers come out of the program because again, the blend of skills that our students get is sort of perfect for that. UX designers and UX researchers are also growing in popularity recently. So these are just a few of the different fields that they end up working in. And some of the companies that they work for, Microsoft, Amazon, of course, are our sort of Seattle area staples there. There's a lot of hiring that they do, but even internationally working in other states and other countries as well. So Facebook, or now Meta, is located. We have the biggest Facebook offices outside of Silicon Valley, which are actually right next to our building. So we have a lot of interaction with them. They're sponsoring a couple of projects this upcoming year. And then of course, Google has a large presence in the Seattle area as well, particularly around self-driving cars is what they're working on at the Seattle area facilities they have. And then of course, we're starting to see students getting hired at a number of different robotics companies. NVIDIA, yes, the graphics card company actually also has a robotics arm that they are developing right now. And so we've had a student get hired on there. They actually have offices in Seattle as well. And then we just recently had alumni or a graduate get hired by TerraClear, which is working on agricultural robots. And so we're starting to see some of that placement happen within the robotics arena as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully that
I'll
answers
move
your
on to the
question.
next question. Yeah, yeah. I'll move on to the next question. Next question is regarding for this particular program, does the university only take students from computer science or engineering background, or a candidate who does not have these this degree and maybe is from a normal background like business can also apply for this particular program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do want a mix of students in the program to bring different skills and experiences to the program. So yes, any background is okay. I would say on average, about 40% of our students come from a computer science background. Maybe another 20% beyond that are coming from engineering backgrounds. And so the other 40% of the students are coming from less technical backgrounds typically. So students that have studied psychology, students that have studied business or architecture, anthropology, medicine are also in the program as well. So yes, we accept students from any background. Like I mentioned with the, I'm going to flip over to the prerequisites. With the prerequisites, like if you have a software background, that's definitely going to help make your application stronger, even if it's self-taught, especially if you have some examples of something that you've created, self-taught, that's really valuable. But even if you don't have a strong background in programming, we do have our boot camp that our students that you can go through within the program to help get you some intermediate level Python skills that'll help you with the programming aspects of the program. So.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Next question has been asked by a student who is saying that I want to do a robotics in post-grad. I just wanted to check if this program will benefit me in my career in robotics, because currently I'm pursuing computer science and in engineering.
Yeah, so definitely the one aspect I would say is depends on what kind of robotics career that you're looking for. So if you are looking at like the industrial robotics careers, then that's probably not going to be within the scope of our program. Our program is definitely about essentially you can think about taking robots that already have been built by a company that are being sold, whether it's robotic arms or mobile manipulators that drive around themselves and that interact with people and environments that are changing constantly. So warehouses or restaurants or hospitals, and programming those robots and for different uses, then that is where our program really focuses on, is sort of, the everyday robots is what you could almost kind of classify them as, which are increasing in use. I think the most common use right now is in warehouses and logistics. Amazon's well known to make use of a lot of robots within their warehouses to help move items around. And so that's where our students gain the skills, is basically programming and maintaining those robots rather than sort of building new robots. So if you're looking at building new robots, maybe this isn't a great program for you. But if you're looking at, getting the skills to go out and use a lot of these robots that companies are buying and starting to implement into their companies, then that's probably a better fit. So.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question, Kyle. And this question has been asked by 2 or 3 students, that what is the difference or the similarity between this particular program and CS and DA program, data analytics and computer science program?
Sure. Well, I mean, so computer science in particular, is not always, there's no guarantee that there's ever going to be any sort of hardware that's going to be involved in computer science. So computer science typically is going to focus a lot on, software and programming, and, you may have a strong emphasis in things like cloud computing. I mean, we do some work with cloud computing, especially with Microsoft Azure, to do a lot of the processing for our devices. But I mean, I would probably not equate it to, what a computer science program will go through and the detail and the depth that they'll go through in a computer science program with in terms of how to use cloud computing in more ways. So I think, one thing that's very central to our program, I think, to sort of summarize our program is, think of it as almost all of our projects involve using some type of sensor to gather information, and then use that. Our students need to use that data to either inform an action that the device takes or inform the user of this data, and so help them interpret it in a way that they can use. So that's kind of a keystone of our program, and then that's not something that I think that you'll necessarily get within a computer science program or data science program in that aspect. So I would definitely say that that's really the key difference, is the integration and use of hardware and software, and the blend of those is very important. Obviously, I think the other bonus for our program is that we're going to have a lot more design focus within our program. So in terms of user-centered design and user interaction is a big focus of our program. That's not always a main focus within like data science and computer science programs. So because there's not always like an end user that you're having to design an interface for in some of those applications that they create. So that's kind of what I would characterize the difference.
Okay, moving to next question, Kyle. This question has been asked by a student who is saying, does the university accept 3 years of bachelor's? Because generally, except engineering, the other undergrad programs are of 3 years. So do the university accept 3 years bachelor's? If not, what additional 1-year program that you would suggest a student would do?
Yeah, we don't accept, the University of Washington does not accept 3-year bachelor's degrees, unfortunately. So yeah, a student would have to like transfer and finish another bachelor's degree or get that 4th year somehow, unfortunately. So with that being said, like I said, any program is basically okay. So, but yeah, unfortunately, the University of Washington does require a 4-year program for graduate degree courses.
Okay, moving to next question. This question has been asked. Just a minute. How frequently do students get opportunities for industry interaction by the university?
So within the scope of especially their launch projects, so that's the final capstone project. So the students work on that project for 2 quarters or 6 months, and essentially at least once a week they're going to be talking with a subject matter expert or stakeholder at their sponsor company. more frequently, it's 2 or 3 times a week that our students will be talking with them. And if they're located close to us in Bellevue, they will often drop by and meet in person. If we're working with a company in another part of the world, that may of course just happen through Zoom or Teams. But yes, once in the launch projects especially, there'll be regular interaction with those companies. Also, I can also say that during the launch or any project that the students work on, whether it's a lab project or a launch project, they have specific milestones that they have to meet throughout the course of the program. And basically, they're just going to present their progress, and this is what our device is doing now, and this is what we want to work on next. And for each of those presentations, we also invite more industry to visit us and provide feedback on projects that they see and provide advice and things like that. And so that's been really valuable for the students. One great example is that if you, let me flip back here, if I can find it. For example, like fireworks, the smart helmet for the firefighters, one challenge that our students were really having was communicating the information, because in a wildfire setting, there's not often cellular service. There's no 4G or 5G service or even 3G service that they can transmit information with. And this is a problem our students were having. And it was overcome by actually an industry partner visiting us and saying, oh, well, I see, you're having some problems communicating this information. I know of this other wireless protocol that might work for you. It's called LoRa. It's a mesh wireless network that was able to, that goes over moderately long distances, not as far as a cellular 3G, 4G, 5G signal, but it worked for their purposes. And so, they were able to get like real knowledge of a technology that they weren't familiar with from their industry partner that came in and said, you should try this technology. It'll probably work for you. So I think that's a good example of how they interact.
Okay, fine. Moving to the next question. So this is regarding the deadline and the turnaround time that the university takes for for a student who applies. So basically the question has come like, if a student applies to the university, how much time does the university takes in replying to the students, either with questions or offer letter?
Well, questions we aim to reply within 24 hours, so that's good. Offer letter, it depends on when you submit it. So the main priority deadline, which is January 17th, we typically have a lot of applications that we get at that deadline, and so it usually takes us around a month and a half usually to get to everyone in that group. Anyone who applies outside of that priority deadline will start to get their applications or their answers within about 2 weeks or so on a rolling admissions basis. So that's what I can say. So the January is the priority deadline. We aim to have admissions decisions in February or March. For those, of course, they have first come, first serve at scholarships as well as placement in the program. If we have space left over, then we typically keep rolling admissions going until April, which on a 2-week turnaround basis.
Okay. I'm going to take a live question now, Kyle.
Sure.
If you want to ask questions directly to Kyle, please click on the raise hand tab. Shiksha will unmute you and you can ask your question. So the student I'm going to unmute is Pratham Swami. Pratham, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Pratham, please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Sir, I want to ask that I have 3 years of bachelor degree from my university, and am I eligible to apply for University of Washington?
Unfortunately, University of Washington requires a 4-year bachelor's degree for master's degree programs. So unfortunately,
Okay.
that's the answer there.
That was my question. Thank you so much for giving your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pratham. Moving to next student, I'm going to unmute Molly Dodekula. Molly, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Molly, you are unmuted. You can ask your question.
Although we're not hearing you.
Molly, please ask your question. You are unmuted. I think there is some connectivity issue at students' end. Molly, you
Could
can
be,
put your
yeah.
question in the question section. I will take there. The student I'm going to unmute is Dhruv A. Dhruv, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. So actually, right now I'm pursuing my computer science with artificial intelligence and machine learning specialization. So as you said, industrial robots like building from the scratch. So which program would you exactly recommend me for the post-graduation?
You want to design robots from scratch, is what you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then build machine learning also. Like I'm seeing
Yeah.
through that code.
Yeah, I would say, if you're looking at the mechatronics side of things, usually that's more covered within like different, there are some robotics programs that specialize in that, but usually that's also done through like various mechanical engineering departments, especially. So that's probably where you'd want to look for that. So the University of Washington also has mechanical engineering with robotics research centers as well. And so if you're looking at like the actual construction and design of robots itself, that's probably where you would want to look.
I'm saying like the coding parts, like from coding and then building a robot. It's not like I'm saying to completely develop it, but like how the working of it. I'm seeing through that thing actually. Because
Yeah,
already I'm doing a specialization in artificial intelligence and machine learning.
sure. Yeah, I mean, anytime that you're looking at, actually building like building the robot, that's definitely more of like a mechanical engineering application. So we don't do a lot of like, we're not really building robots within our program. Like we use robots that already have been created by a company. We may make slight modifications to things like the manipulators or something, but like we're not really building a robot for a specific task. We're programming a robot to carry out a specific task. And so
Yeah.
whatever the limitations of the robot are, that's what we would usually work with instead of trying to build a specific robot for a specific task.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Dhruv. I'll move on to the next student now. I'm going to unmute Molly. Molly, please try if you are able to speak now and ask your question. I have unmuted you.
Good evening, sir.
There we go. Yes, hello.
Am I audible, sir?
Yep, I
Yes,
can hear
Am I
you.
audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. In the Masters in Computer Science course, is there any waiver application, sir?
That's something you'd have to ask them computer science master's program. And so I don't work in that program, so you'd need to ask them directly.
Okay. Sir, regarding the AI and ML applications, like which one will be the most expensive course, sir, in your university?
The most expensive course? I don't know actually which one the most expensive course is.
Between
I think
ML and AI, sir.
between, sorry, what? Oh, ML and AI?
Between machine learning and AI. Yes.
I'm not actually sure. I think the main machine learning and AI courses, it's like computer science and then like data science. We have a data science program, and I think data science is a little bit more expensive than computer science is. So you would have to look at that directly. I'm not exactly sure offhand.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Molly. I'll move on to the next question now, Kyle. And this question is from the chat. So this is regarding the career placement help that the students may get from the university once they are, about to complete their program. That how the university is going to support the students for looking their jobs.
Sure. I mean, what I can say from experience is we have a lot of support for the students. It often takes the students a little bit longer to realize what support they need than in terms of how much support we have. So Within our program itself, we have our own dedicated career specialist that supports from admissions, basically day one, the different career events that we have. So we have workshops and training, we have employer events, alumni panels, professional panels that we have just within the program. Of course, University of Washington also has an engineering career center. So it's a career center specifically for students in the College of Engineering, which we are part of. And they, of course, also do workshops, training, and have more knowledge specifically about different career fields and tips to get into different career fields. They also host different events. We also have access to events that are in some other programs, like the Information School. The iSchool offers their own career fairs occasionally. Computer Science School will offer their career fairs, and if our students are able to attend those as well. So there's a lot of access both within the program and within the university to get the skills needed to pursue a career. And generally the biggest challenge that we see with students is that they just don't start early enough. We encourage them to start early, but oftentimes it's students are within their second year before they start pursuing job opportunities, and it's definitely harder once you're almost done with the program. So start early. That's what we have services for.
Okay, I'll take the last two questions. One question that has been asked, that is the program a STEM designated program?
Yes, we are a STEM designated program. So
okay.
The students would be eligible for the OPT extension, yes.
Okay. And second question is that if a student have a good work experience in the similar field of, let's say, a similar field that is required by the university for this particular program, their GRE scores can be waived, GRE GMAT scores could be waived off, or is it mandatory for students to have those scores?
No, it's not, because we don't require GRE or GMAT at all. So what I can say is that, definitely the work experience that you have is considered in your application. So that's considered a valuable skill as well. And also if you have not taken any like programming classes in your university, but you have done it at your job, that will be considered as meeting that requirement as well. So no to GRE and GMAT because we don't need it anyway. But yes, it is a valuable part of the application because we do look for a certain number of students that do have some career experience, but it is not a requirement.
One last question, Kyle, which is again a common question from the chat that I want to ask, is regarding scholarship opportunities for the students. This has been asked a lot of students in the chat box, that what kind of scholarship does the university provide?
Yeah, so like I said, the program itself, we provide, where's my scholarship slide? So this is what we're looking at. So you could look at a scholarship between 5 to 20% of your tuition cost, basically. And that's considered based on the strength of your application materials. And so it's a fairly holistic process. So it's based on your personal statement, it's based on your portfolio, it's based on your previous experience or academics. And so that's what you could potentially look at for scholarships. So, one important thing is, scholarships are awarded early. And so the students who apply earlier are going to receive the scholarship, and we can't always guarantee there'll be any available for the students who apply later. So that's why we definitely say if you're looking for a scholarship, applying in January is always the best chance that you're going to have. If you apply after that, we may or may not have scholarship funding left. So that's the main scholarship that comes from the program and the university right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Kyle. And with this, we have come to the end of the session, and I've almost taken all the questions from the chat that I could take. Students, in case there are questions that we may have missed, do not worry. Your details will be shared with the university representatives along with your questions. Also, and so that whatever questions that you have will be shared with them.
Yes, thanks everyone for attending, and thank you for your questions especially. I always appreciate answering questions, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. Special thanks to you for taking out time today and doing this wonderful presentation. I hope that you enjoyed interacting with the students here.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah. Students, you will also be contacted by the Shiksha counseling team who will help you further with your application and your admission process for this particular program at the university. So in case you have doubts regarding your admission application, scholarships, anything, you can share that with the counseling team here and they will be able to support you. In case you still want to get in touch with someone from the university, you can let them know and they will be able to connect you with them directly. So with this, I now end the session and I would like to say thanks to Kyle again for doing this presentation for all of us, and thank you students for joining in. Have a great day, Kyle, there, and have a great evening to the students here. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye bye, take care
Thank you very
everyone
much.
and be safe.